The objective of the INPROCAP project, it's a 3-year European funded project, and we're almost 2 years in. The objective is to build specialist advisory services on innovative procurement amongst national industrial liaison officers, the big science organizations. And today we've got a table full. We are at CERN actually. The physical meeting is happening at CERN, and we're sort of in the midst of it. The basic analysis of the project is that to the assessment that innovative procurement is underused in the BSO value chain. In other sectors, it's much more used, and that there's potential to transform all this public spending into innovation, both to reach out towards innovative companies and also to get more innovation the other way into the BSOs. And so the triangle there is the sort of structure of the project, really, with national industrial liaison officers at the top, all of you, the big science organizations in the right-hand corner, and all the innovative companies to the left. And so we're creating dynamics, how to build up a structure that makes sense for the innovation in this sector. So next slide, please. So these are the project partners, 7 project partners. As you can see, we are covering the whole of Europe. So Big Science DK, where I come from, in the north, CDTI from the south, National Center for Nuclear Research with Sylvia to the east, and NBO with Jan to the Holland to the left. And then we've got 2 big science organizations inside the project as test and developers, European Exfel and IceCAD, and then we've got Pedal Consulting coming from sort of outside our sector and our ecosystem, bringing in innovative procurement knowledge from other sectors, and also our training partner. So next slide. And so this is the overview of our project KPIs, and we will be presenting all of them at the BSBF in Holland, in Maastricht, at the end of October. That is, we'll sort of sum up. The training material will be available, and we will be concluding on the work that we have been doing, particularly the bottom one in the first box, the initiate 10 small consortia that are working on co-design or innovation of some sort. And we've been identifying themes and issues through regional events where we have had a number of challenges presented by big science organizations to a range of innovative companies. So that is one of our main KPIs. And then the second KPI is in the second box, sort of the second out of our hand KPIs is at the bottom in the second box, the BSOs integrate advice. And here Exfel has done some excellent work to develop written procedures of how to conduct innovative procurement, and how they've also had a number of test runs. And they're sharing that with other BSOs. So all that we will sum up and show you at BSBF in October. Next slide. So this is the program for today. Joseph will go through the details and present the speakers, but the main thing here is that there'll be a lunch break at 11:30. We will go to the CERN Secretariat along with CERN Cantina, along with all the other scientists and all the many people working here. And there'll also be another break at 2:30, and we will respect those hours. Next slide. So as we go along, there'll be interactive elements. You will have some Mentimeter polls, and there'll be some quizzes. There'll be, as Lucia said, we'll record the session so that it can be made available afterwards on the INPROCAP learning space that we're developing. And then also, please ask questions or intervene. We're not that big a group; it's not a conference, so that's a little bit how. And then I give the floor to Joseph.
Thank you, Esther. And online participants, it's great if you just send us the question by chat.
Hello.
Hi.
Did I come to the right place?
Training, yes. Please join us.
Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I just came from Finland.
No worries. Please join us. So what are we planning to do today? We will do some recap. So we already did some 4 trainings on different aspects of innovation procurement. We call it innovation procurement journey. So we will go really quickly through needs assessment and state of the art analysis, and then open market consultation. We will do some exercise. Just before the lunch, I will explain the exercise on open market consultation. And after the lunch, we will then continue with the exercise, and you will have a chance, and also online participants to present the results of these. And I think it's very interesting because you will work on real BSO challenges, as Esther said, that were identified on Industry Day at Lund in Sweden last year, and now we are working on that. So I think very practical. We will have a presentation from a colleague from CERN here later on after the lunch. Also, one of our partners from CDTI, they will present their experience of doing pre-commercial procurement, because they have a huge experience with that. They, in fact, invested from their resilience plan 300 million euros through the PCP funding schemes for the innovation procurement in Spain. So very interesting. I'm looking for that. And then we will go through another step of innovation procurement journey, which is called business case. So we will look briefly, what does it mean business case within the innovation procurement? And then you will again, and also participants online will work a little bit on a specific use case and a challenge. So my name is Josef Kubinec from the company Kinovate. I'm working also for Pedal Consulting, and I'm for 15 years in public procurement in general for different organizations, and for the last years, I'm also part of this CERIS community for European Commission. It's an expert committee on research in civil security domain. And we have some experience, good experience with PCPs and innovation procurement and in civil security domain. We have a specific calls within the Horizon for these purposes. So that's me. Then we will, after the lunch, we will have colleague, Mr. Fernandez from CERN. He's a senior CERN staff member with nearly 2 decades of experience driving innovation in ICT. So he will join us after the lunch. Very interesting. He will speak about the Horizon 2020 project called Archiver, and that was actually done here by CERN on the topic of archiving vast amount of data, and they needed the innovative solutions to do that, and they do it through the pre-commercial procurement process. So he will speak about that, and we will have opportunity to ask him very specific questions, how the CERN finds this process of pre-commercial procurement useful. And then Mr. Moreno Ballesteros from CDTI, he will speak afternoon about the experience of CDTI. He's an aeronautical engineer and has a degree in physical science, and he's in fact the Spanish IILO in particle physics at CERN, the ESRF and IRL as a member of Spanish delegation to Finance Committee at CERN. So he will join us later on after the lunch. So let's go through the training, but first let's start with warming up. So this is example of what are we implementing or using through our trainings, is this Mentimeter question. So basically, if you can just scan the QR code, it will direct you to the Mentimeter website, and you will be able to answer the questions there. If that doesn't work, the QR code, you can go directly to mentimeter.com and use the code there, 45986826. And the first question that are we going to ask is, what are your expectations from the training? I need to now switch off and I will launch the Mentimeter. We have 10 responses, so let's go. To gain new knowledge, I hope you will learn something new, or maybe you have already, some of you have experienced, some of you joined our previous training, so that's great, thank you for that. And but today we will do also something new, working on business case later on, and also practical open market consultation exercise. A practical knowledge for sure when it comes to the exercises. We will do two very practical exercises during today trainings, learning about the development of business cases. I think it's very practical, very informative topic, very important to the innovation procurement, because there should be, I believe, also economical reasoning behind investing in R&D through the pre-commercial procurement. And basically the business case, it's a tool that we use to explain also to the higher management why it's worth to invest in that, or maybe to find that it's not worth. Yeah. So learning from the real big science challenges, yes, exactly. As I said, we will have some real examples. I will show some examples from, let's say, my domain, which is civil security domain, but your colleagues will show the experience from the BSO practice. We will practice some, of course, learn about development business cases in large-scale science projects. Yes, let's look into that, but obviously it's very complex topic, so we will have just, let's say, time to do some simple mind exercise when it comes to the business case and some practical experience. Now you will be able to vote again. Now this is a different exercise. If you have experience, I would like to answer you which module from the INPROCAP training journey do you feel most confident about, if you took a part in that, but it's also valid for the online participants. So you should be able to vote now if it is needs assessment, which was the second webinar, market analysis, state of the art, that was the third hybrid training we had at XFEL. In February, we had a webinar on open market consultation, or there is also a possibility to answer. I need a refresher on all of them. Now wait a little bit for the answers. I think we have a winner. I need a refresher on all of them, which is really good because for the morning session I prepared a brief refresher on these topics, and I will just pick up, let's say, most important parts. I think it's also very important to understand that our trainings are for the IILOs, but also for BSO procurement experts and the company. So we understand within the INPROCAP, within the preparation phase, we analyze what is the role of IILOs in the whole sector and how should we address the training needs for the IILOs or the company. So we understand for the IILOs, it's important to have a general overview of understanding what is innovation procurement, but you don't need probably go very deep into specific procedures like how to do innovation partnerships step by step. That's, for example, important for BSO procurement staff experts, and we will have a specific training really focusing on these procedural and legal aspects, focusing for the BSOs procurement experts late June. So let's go back to the presentation. So basically, this is what we did till now, but I mentioned it already, so I can skip it. I think what is important that all the recordings and supporting materials are now available also on our website, INPROCAP website, and later on we will also launch e-learning platform. So we will combine all these things and add some other things, and it will be like a module-based training maybe for you in the future if you find yourself in a situation that you need some aspects of innovation procurement for different reasons, or maybe for your colleagues. So we are working heavily, and our methodology is based on AFIP methodology, which is methodology. It's European Association for Innovation Procurement. That's a European initiative on innovation procurement. And we are following this journey of innovation procurement, where in the beginning we have this needs assessment phase. Then we continue with analyzing these needs We do the market analysis. We try to understand what are the possibilities on the market of existing solutions to address our challenges. And if there are not, then probably unmet need. And one of the tools we can address is using the innovation procurement. We then move to open market consultation, which is the, let's say, legal way how we can communicate with the market and asking the market the right questions. Questions related to needs assessment, to the technical specification, functional specification, to the criteria and other things. Open market consultations are done also within the normal procedures. Sometimes it's called differently. It's called the industry days, but we will get into the details also later on. We then have a business case when we do some calculations, some work with the numbers, and then we launch the tender and we evaluate the proposals, and then we go into implementation phase. What is innovation procurement? I would skip that because of the time, but I would like to briefly again repeat on some basics for pre-commercial procurement. So some of you have seen this slide or this graph. For those who have not, basically this is a description of each phases for the pre-commercial procurement, which ends at phase 3, and then afterwards we have a public procurement innovative solutions, PPI. Start with the PCP. We have phase 0, which is the phase where we analyze our needs, we prepare the tender documents, we do the market analysis, we speak with the market through open market consultation, industry days, workshop, or whatever. We then focus again back on the specification for tenders, and we launch the tender. Imagine that we have several, let's say 10 proposals, and it's not unusual for innovation procurement, for pre-commercial procurement to have more, let's say, proposals than usual. For example, nowadays we are working on project called PCP-WISE, which is basically creating new models for water intelligence within the Europe, and it's complex projects for 20 million euros, financed by Horizon Europe, and we had 25 proposals, which was amazing. And you have to understand also that each proposal is usually presented by consortia, and consortia is then created from different companies. You have larger, sometimes integrators, but then you have also smaller companies, SME startups. So let's imagine we have 10 proposals based on the criteria. We evaluate those proposals, and let's say that 4 go to the phase 1. In that phase, we sign the contract with 4 suppliers who, based according to criteria, were evaluated as the best. And now they have, let's say, 3 months to work on solution design. We give them money. That's very important. We give them first, I think that's very important. We give them first tranche of money, let's say 100,000 euros per each supplier to work on this solution design. So after 3 months, we meet together again. We as a public buyers or buyer, we evaluate the proposals, and based again on criteria, we evaluate best 3. Those 3 goes to phase 2, where we sign another agreement, and we give them another money to develop the prototype. Each of those suppliers, 3 suppliers, develop the prototype, and within the phase 2, which is usually the longest phase, we usually takes, depends, but at least 9 months, depending on the complexity of the project. Sorry. So they develop the prototype, and we test it in what we call laboratory conditions. What is my experience that when are we doing these PCP projects? Also, the project consortia consists of public buyers. We have several public buyers from different countries, but we have also technical, let's say, coordinators who can be support organizations that help us do the testing, for example, in laboratory. And then we evaluate again on the criteria, and we choose the best 2. And they go to phase 3, where we sign another agreement with them. We give them the last money to develop, or let's say not develop, but work on the prototype. And then here it's written, it's a living lab, but what we call it in civil security, it's operational conditions. So we took the prototypes and we tested in operational conditions. And in the end, which is very important, you should have at least 2 suppliers that are able to, by investing in R&D, develop the solution that address your challenge, your needs. Why 2? Because it's important we don't get ourselves again into the, let's say, what we call vendor lock-in. I know in the big science sector it's very difficult because it's very specific, but this is how we do it. And in the end, what is also very important, suppliers are owners of IPR rights. So then, after the process, they are able to commercialize the products and sell those products also to others. So basically, I mean, the PCP, pre-commercial procurement, is basically a mechanism of not really the procuring that means that in the end you are an owner of developed solutions. It's more the way how we fund the R&D, not only in Europe, but not obviously, but also in other countries or yeah. Go on.
Just in terms of the IP, so the IP in phase 3 rests with suppliers.
Yes.
There's no IP that rests, or background IP that rests with the BSO.
I mean, you can have different arrangements, but they should be able to commercialize the products.
Okay, so then when you go to commercial deployment, you go to manufacturing or volume manufacturing.
Yeah.
You can't do a procurement exercise where you are taking the IP from the suppliers and making it available within territory to actually do that manufacture.
Sorry, can you repeat?
That's okay, yeah. So you were expecting the only manufacturers in phase 4 to be supplier A or supplier D?
Not really. I mean, if the suppliers outside this PCP process are able in time to develop the solutions that address your needs, then when I launch the PPI, the phase 4, Public Procurement Innovative Solutions, I expect that at least 2 suppliers will bid, A and D, but hopefully more, because in the time, other can develop solutions to address your challenges. For example, the ones that were not included in phase 2, but they were able, using their own money or other money, to develop the solution.
Yeah.
So needs assessment, that's the first real phase of innovation procurement journey. So what does it mean, concept of unmet need? We say we have need and we have unmet need. Here's a definition. It's a requirement of set of requirements that public procurers have now, or preferably one that public procurers will have in the future, that current product, services, or arrangement cannot meet, or they can, but at excessive cost. Unmet need is described in terms of outcomes, not technologies. Here is a simple example. You shouldn't we need AI-powered software, but you should use what we call functional specifications. I'm sure that some of you have experience with that. So the right way would be to say we need to reduce the client response time from 48 hours to 4 hours. In a needs assessment module, you can find the presentation, but also recordings on our website. We discuss several methodologies, how to identify the needs. There is typical voice of the client. Then we presented also 5-step approach. Which one I really like is wouldn't be great if. So it's basically dreaming of optimal solution that would address my need in the future, and I should be, it's great because I can dream. That's why I like it. I know it's hard to see now, but this is just the example of what we did 2 weeks ago. So I was on the workshop dealing with wildfires. And there we discussed with end users who were firefighters, crisis management people of different situations they are in. And we started, and each of the group worked on their own use case. And so the first step was to describe what would be the optimal situation. I was responsible for one group, and there were firefighters, and they discuss, but also the managers, that they have access from different data streams, different sensors when it comes to the fires, but also different sensors when it comes to the firefighting cars, where are the cars, how much water, how much fuel is in the cars, and so on. And they said, my problem is that I have too many of these streams, too many information on different screens, and my dream situation would be if I have one platform where I can see all the information somehow. And there is also, for example, a tool that can help me to decide, so decision support system or a predictive system and so on. So how we continued in a way that we describe as it is situation. You can see those. I mean, this is a print screen from a Miro tool that we used. So we used the yellow stickers to describe situation as it is. So what are the problems now? Then there was this other what is that another color? Almost green.
Mint.
Mint. Okay, I wouldn't think of a mint, but. So the mint was describing 5 steps to get to our dream situation, the optimal situation, and the blue sticker was for this dream situation, how that would look like. And then we describe in step 3 our use case, so our need. We describe who are our end users. We describe what are the main functions of such a tool, platform, or something that you need to develop. Then we describe what would be the input data, what would be the output. We describe when and how. And then step 4 would be to work a little bit on functions of such a platform. So we understand that we need to retrieve data from different sensors, from different streams. Then we need to integrate the data, we need to analyze, store them, and so on. So this is just the example of one of the methods how you can work on an unmet need. Obviously, you can use this method also outside the innovation procurement. So what would be for the needs assessment the key takeaways? You should start with the problem, not the solution. That's very important for innovation procurement, and not only for really this pre-commercial procurement, but in general. Start with the problem, not the solution. Define what you need before exploring the market. So that's what I like also with the pre-commercial procurement, because me as a public buyer or a buyer in general, I just say what is my need, and then I leave it up to the market to come with a solution that can probably address my needs. There are obviously more steps to that. It's a very complex situation, but just for a basic understanding. Very important, what we use in innovation procurement is functional specification. So we describe the outcomes, not prescriptive technical requirements. Obviously, then it's also harder to evaluate. That's why then you need also very technical people who are able to evaluate the solutions then during the evaluation phase. What we discuss also within the civil security domain and our expert committee, but also I think it's very important, and you understand that, is that you need to involve end users very early. The procurement teams alone cannot understand the full picture. But it also works other way around. So for what we find out is that with the innovation procurement projects, for sure the complex ones, you need to also involve your procurement very early. So they need to be early in these projects to understand the situation, and maybe you are able to discuss with them already if this is feasible to be done according to the rules or the law and so on.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi.
Hello, Barbara.
You need to prioritize, of course, and then you document also the rationale For sure, you need to document also the needs assessment phase. Then we went to the market analyze module. As I said, we did it in Hamburg at Excel. The core question. So with the market analyze, which consists of two things, but I will describe that later. The core question here is, can the market already solve my problem? Because that dictates what kind of procedure I will use. If I find out that my solution can be addressed by existing technology, then I can go directly to the market. I can use the normal procedures, and I can buy the codes, so something that is already there on the market. If I find out that the market cannot address my needs, or maybe not all the needs, all the challenges, then this is opportunity for pre-commercial procurement, or maybe for some cases also innovation partnership. We have quite long discussions with our colleagues from Expel about the importance of innovation partnership procedure. That's true. It's also these procedures of innovation partnership. We will have a specific modules later on about that. Can also be a tool for buying the R&D services, and in the end, you in fact, as a public buyer, own the solutions. But again, it has its benefits and minuses. Based on AFIP methodology, the next step after the needs assessment is SOTA. So what does it mean, SOTA? It's a state-of-the-art analysis. And it consists of the two phases. You can do these phases simultaneously. One is prior art analysis and one is IPR search. So, and why you need that? Because you need to understand if your need is really unmet. So there is no solutions on the market that can address your challenges, your need, or all the challenges. And for that, we do the prior art analysis and IPR search. Why is that? And I said it again, but it's very important. If you find out there is solution on the market, you don't have a justification to do this pre-commercial procurement because there are solutions already developed, and it would make no sense to invest money into something that is already there. What does it mean, prior art analysis? So basically, you can imagine it as a desk research. So we have now our challenge, we have our unmet need, we have the use case as described before, and you do this research. You go through existing products, academic publications, you go to fairs, try to identify if there are solutions on the market. But simultaneously, what we do is also we do IPR search. So how we do the IPR search, based on the use case, we define the needs. From the needs, we took major keywords. We then use the different tools to search for patterns. Within this methodology, or we have experience with IP analytics, but there are Google patterns and so on. You have probably even more experience with searching for patterns than me. Then we analyze. For example, it's not unusual that we find out 900 patterns that, based on the keywords, have some connections with our use case. So 900 is impossible. So you need to analyze and shortlist. Then you need also somebody with the technical background who is able to read the patent, who is able to at least establish some probable level of TRL of these patents, and then you interpret these results. What you can end up is with the three scenarios. You find out, then in fact all the needs are met. As I said, you just launch typical procedures based on your needs. So it can be open procedure. I don't know what the procedures are called here at CERN, but yeah, let's say according to European directives, you have this open procedure, or you can go with the competitive dialogue or restrictive procedures. By the way, we will see what will new directives on public procurement bring us, because in 2 months we are expecting that we will have a first draft of new European directives on public procurement, and then once European Parliament approves that, then the member states will have, let's say, 2 years depend to implement this international legislation. I don't know how it is with the UK. Maybe they will be inspired with some of that, but you will do also your own thing, so I'm sure.
One thing we can be sure of.
Yeah. Yeah, but we can have a discussion about new public procurement rules later on. Second scenario can be that some needs are met. Existing technology address some, but not all of the core needs, and there is a clear innovation gap. So your strategic action can be innovate via pre-commercial procurement or the innovation partnership. Scenario 3, which is really unlikely, but it can happen. You never know. No needs are met, so what we call it, there is greenfield. Again, you can use the pre-commercial procurement for this situation. For more details, this is again very complex thing, but if you would like to learn more about the market analysis, you are invited to go to our website. So state-of-the-art analysis, we use it as a justification also in our, not the tender documents, but for the later audits, to be able to justify that our needs cannot be addressed by existing technology. That's why we can invest money to R&D through this pre-commercial procurement. With the market analysis, try to look beyond your usual suppliers. You need to map the maturity landscape, identify gaps, and keep it updated. I would like to now talk a little bit more about open market consultation, because after the lunch we will have an exercise on that. So it's better to speak now about open market consultation. What we call it, it's formalized dialogue of a buyer with the market, but it can be also not only market but different experts on the topics. And aim is to obtain answer to how can the needs of the buyer can be solved. As I said, this open market consultation, it's important step for innovation procurement journey. But if you have experience with, let's say, normal procurement procedures done according to public procurement law, we see that some of the public buyers are using this open market consultation or preliminary market consultation, also legal way how they can discuss, for example, technical specification of the tender, which they know there are solutions on the market. Some fundamentals. What is very important? Open market consultation is not the tender yet. So this is a pre-procurement, as Antonio from Exfil is saying. It's a pre-procurement phase. It's a non-binding. You explore what are the opportunities on the market. When to conduct? So after state-of-the-art analysis. So you did need assessment. You did market analysis state-of-the-art. You have now some understanding of the market. And now you go with this understanding to the real market players and you ask very specific questions to them. For sure, before finalizing tender documents, because you take the input you learn from the market through this open market consultation to the tender documents, and you update the tender documents before launching that. What is the typical timeline? It really depends. I have experience from normal public procedures that it can be 1 month, but we did also one open market consultation for 1 year. That was really complex situation. But usually it's 6 to 12 weeks from the European projects, what we have experience with. Also, what is very important and what we discuss within our project with the colleagues from Exfil, who is responsible for doing this open market consultation. For example, me coming from, let's say, Ministry of Interior experience, then the Public Procurement Department was responsible to launching the open market consultation. Of course, we got the support from technical departments who prepare all the technical documents, but then we were responsible for organizing open market consultation, inviting suppliers, and so on. For example, at other organizations, it can be technical department who is doing this market analysis or open market consultation as part of the market analysis. What are the benefits of open market consultation? So you validate market capabilities. Also within the open market consultation, you are asking suppliers again, based on your understanding, if, for example, they can be or are able to deliver the solution they can address needs. Again, this is can be sometimes tricky because we know suppliers and they can promise you everything. So you need to be quite careful about this situation, and you need to evaluate and analyze the situation. We use the open market consultation for refined technical specifications. So as this is open procedure, this open market consultation, everybody can apply. Of course, you are free to invite suppliers that you already know of. And as you are already in the phase after the needs assessment and state of the art, you should have at least some functional specification of the tender. So you can ask the market if they understand this functional specification, and then ask about their input to that. What we find out is also very important to build the market awareness. I think also that's why doing these pan-European PCP procurements, we are doing a huge open market consultation events, hybrid events. We have on-site workshops, but also they are able to join us online. And also by this raising the market awareness, we are able to attract more suppliers. And that's what you in fact want. If you want just one supplier, then you are probably not going to do innovation procurement. There are other ways, but yeah. So if you are going with innovation procurement, you should be open about that. And I think this is very good to attract new suppliers also. You are able to identify innovative solution, and also very important, you can assess the supplier's interest. So if you find out that in the end you have only, let's say, one or two suppliers interested, you need to re-evaluate things. Yeah. So basic principles. This comes from the European directives on public procurement, but it's also applied because it comes also from the Treaty on Functioning of the European Union. You should be aware of equal treatment, non-discrimination, and transparency when you are doing open market consultation. Equal treatment basically means that the information that you collect or you present are available to all. What are we usually doing is, in the end of open market consultation, we publish the report for open market consultation that actually contains some of our findings. If some findings are sensitive, we don't include it there. It's also good for the future audits. There are different ways how you can organize open market consultation. So you can have a physical meetings where you basically stand before the suppliers and you present your challenges. You can do it openly with all suppliers in one room, let's say. But sometimes we use the different approach. We have a separate one-to-one meetings. Obviously, equal treatment must be kept in mind. But this can be very good if you find that it's very specific subject of the tender, and it's very sensitive. And suppliers wouldn't like to share their know-how in front of other suppliers. So there are different methods how to address that. For example, one-to-one. You can have a site visits. What is quite good is hybrid format. So you have on-site training, workshop, and you are allowed also online participation. For simple projects, you can do just simple questionnaire, request for information, and then there are some innovative formats. What are we applying also in some projects is called pitching sessions. So basically suppliers have 5 minutes or 3 minutes 5 is better to pitch their product to you. Sometimes within this open market consultation, we allow suppliers to do matchmaking, because if we are doing complex, innovative procurement projects, it's probable that one company cannot address all the challenges and needs. That's why what we see, usually you have a consortia. And to allow creation of this consortia, we do the matchmaking session. So suppliers then on the events can discuss. Here is a 10-step process of doing the open market consultation. So basically, in the beginning, you need to define objectives, visual technical team. So what you want to get from open market consultation, what kind of questions you need to get answers to. Then you choose the format. You develop the materials, so presentation or request for information, the surveys, which enables you to collect the information from suppliers. You set your timeline, typical 6 to 12 weeks. You publish the announcement. It's a good practice that we publish it on TED, which is the European Daily Portal of EU, but you can publish it also on your website. You registrate, obviously, the suppliers. You conduct open market consultation in different ways. You document everything. That's very important. You have this report from open market consultation. You analyze the results and then publish the summary. We have 3 minutes, and I think I will be able to finish that within the time, and then we can go for lunch and be back for the exercise itself. So my suggestion is start early, ideally 6 months before the tender publication. Yeah? Objectives, so you need to understand, that's why you need to cooperate with the technical department, public procurement, maybe even legal. You need to understand what you want to achieve by this open market consultation, what you want to learn from the market. Technical feasibility, do you want to ask them about the possible cost of, for example, R&D services, or again, if you are doing normal tender, then you are asking about the cost of the solution on the market. Who should you target? Are you addressing big companies? Are you addressing startups, SMEs? Are you addressing academic or research institutions, RTOs? Are you in contact with your IILO that can then support sharing the knowledge about the open market consultation in their state? Yeah? Very important, prepare right questions. So example of questions that you would like to ask the suppliers is, yeah, some basic company details, but then it's about the PCP challenge and the requirements. So these are the questions that probe the market familiarity with the challenge, the current solution. Do they understand the challenge, how you presented it? Is it clear enough? Is it not biased? Technical feasibility, can your solution meet my requirement? What is the tier level? What are the main risks? Market maturity, but you can also ask, for example, about the eligibility criteria. You, for example, expect with PCP tenders, with R&D tenders, innovation partnership, you usually bet on the company that they will be able in the future develop something new. So what you put in the tender documents is usually qualification of their teams, because you are bidding into probably people who are going to build it. So you can ask the suppliers if these qualification criteria, if more companies are able to meet them, because again, if it is too high and only one supplier can apply, then it's probably not good, right? And for sure, you are asking about timeline and capacity. Can you deliver? Yeah. We can skip that. I said what is important to report everything from open market consultation. And then you can, it's a good practice to publish, but for European ones, it's, I think, important. But if you do the national ones, what I saw also the practice was that the report was not published, the whole report, maybe just some minutes from the meetings, and then the whole report was part of the tender dossier for the audit. Key takeaways is I really believe in open procurement. So I think it's a strategic tool. It's not a formality. You open your tender. You need to also choose the right format. For simple things, maybe it's just really enough to send possible suppliers, answer please this online survey, which contains questions that you need to ask. If you need to go deep, then choose different formats. You need to really think about specific, well-structured questions. Very important, equal treatment. This is not negotiable. And then you work with your outputs. And you take the input into your tender documents. And then we have an exercise, but we can be back with the exercise after the lunch. I will now leave the floor open for the questions, also to online participants. I haven't seen if there are any questions.
Yeah, will this presentation be available after training?
Yes.
Yes, it will be uploaded on our website.
And for all of these three modules, the details are again are in our modules. Go on.
This presupposes a solution where one goes to the market, yeah, for a particular technical sort of a problem solution. Yeah. What if the BSO wants to work with the market in a sort of partnership type development in advance of then delivery? You know, because it's at the moment there's quite a clear divide between what the BSO wants and it sends it into the market. Yeah. Are there any examples that you have where there's been a continued technical collaboration almost to actually come up with solutions?
I think it's then innovation partnership would be more useful as a procedure.
Right, okay.
Right, because then you work with the, I mean, also here you work with the suppliers within these three phases, but and you give them input, like what is your need. You also test the solution and again go back to them. But if you really want to this really close collaboration, even maybe with less number of suppliers, then probably innovation partnership would be better solution. So, and I'm quite clear about that. Depends on which general director of the European Commission is investing in innovation procurement. Some are preferring the pre-commercial procurement tools, and some are also accepting innovation partnership like DG Grow, for example. So there are different reasons for that, but I think for the BSOs, innovation partnership in some cases makes sense also.
Okay, yeah, I'm just taking the experience of working with CERN in the past, yeah, as an organisation that has very strong technical capability. The extent to which they're willing to go, okay, to the market, this is the solution, solve it yourself, yeah. Actually, they're less comfortable about that. You know, as you say, a partnership would be much more perhaps appropriate for them.
I think so,
yes.
yeah. I think we will have a webinar on innovation partnership on 11th of May. At the end of today's session, we will present what other trainings are available. So there will be, and we will invite speakers who have large experience with innovation partnership.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, for the webinar on 11th of May.
Good. So
what I can say, just one last word, that actually colleagues from Exfel are working right now on innovation partnership. It's below the EU threshold, so it's below 140,000 euros or something, or even less, maybe 100,000 euros. But we are working also on the methodology of doing the innovation partnership and having this simple document. Well, not simple, but still document that can help you to understand all the phases of innovation partnership.
So for the innovation partnership, is there a legal or regulatory framework?
Yes. So innovation partnership is directly described in national in European directives on public procurement, and then they are taken into the national legislation. So you said you are from Germany?
No, I'm from Sen.
So yeah.
I don't know how to do it.
So the innovation partnership is described in European directives. The pre-commercial procurement itself, it's exempted from the public procurement rules. That's why it might be also interesting for some public buyers, because it's exemption. So you are more flexible when designing the pre-commercial procurement. You are following the guidance of European Commission on pre-commercial procurement, but as it is, as in the end, the IPR rights are within the suppliers, meaning the benefits are not only taken by public buyer, then there is a specific exemption on pre-commercial procurement as procuring goods and services. But innovation partnership is described in a directive and then the national laws.
So in innovation partnership, who gets the IP? I was a bit confused about that.
You can divide.
Okay, you can do that.
So it depends on your agreement and how you structure the tender.
Okay. So that can be negotiated. Yeah.
Yeah, that can be negotiated.
Thank you.
Oh, you probably want to have it early beginning of tender one, you launch the tender to understand what will be. But maybe you can also, because then you have also different phases innovation partnership, and you are negotiating with the suppliers to some extent. So there will be some flexibility also on that. With the PCP, what we usually address is that we want to have free licenses. For example, if in the end there is software that has been developed, or even it can be like sensor or something. What we usually have in the tender documents is that we have a free license to use the developed prototypes and solutions for our own purposes. Or if there is a group of public buyers, then all of those buyers. Or if there would be a national entity that would do the procurement on behalf of other institutions, several, maybe even schools, then you can address this free license for them.
So our host to take us to lunch.
Yes, we can. So the idea is that I will ask somebody in the corridor to lock this room, and then somebody to reopen it when we come back from lunch.
Okay.
So that we can leave all our stuff here. We don't have to carry everything down,
Yeah.
which makes it a bit more cumbersome. So yeah.
Okay. So we
Thank
will
you.
break in an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Nice to meet you all. My name is Ron. I'm a staff member since 20 years now at CERN. When I did this PCP, I was in the IT department. I'm now in the engineering department. It was the second PCP that we have done. We had done another one before called HNSI Cloud as well. And it was a PCP about software. So that one of the things that you are going to hear, so all the experience that we encapsulate in these slides is about a software PCP. And you'll see why I'm mentioning this. Through the slides, I'll try to give you the scene or the context of the archival project and what we're trying to do, the challenge and methodology. And we heard already some things about the methodology, the challenge, the OMC, and so on, what we have done there. What were the resulting services, some of the benefits that we collected, both from buyers and contractors, and then some conclusions and lessons learned from the project for future projects, either external or elsewhere. So archival project. So the focus was in archiving and data preservation services. And you will see that was our first challenge, because most of these companies thought that we were focusing on storage of data, and storage of data is just a small part of it. So when we're talking about archiving and preservation, we are talking about storing the data, but also being able to reproduce all the methods of the associated software in the future. So that's where the challenge partially was. We had a budget of 3.4 million for a total budget for procurement, and a total budget of 4.8. We're co-funded by the European Commission, and we had two sets of participation. So in one side, you had the buyers group that you see there, that were scientific organizations, essentially representing a different scientific domain or a different community on the scientific community. And then we had what we call the experts, that was essentially Adestino and Trust IT, two companies that were helping us in either the dissemination of results or even the preparation and the scope of the R&D in the beginning. Okay, so of course, the buyers were responsible for the budget together with the EC, and the experts were just participating on the project as consultants, essentially. So this formed the consortium, and of course, with the funding from the European Commission, there was another initiative on the European Commission called European Open Science Cloud. And so this was plugged, or the results of the project have been plugged to the European Open Science Cloud, in the sense of having these companies then participating on this wider initiative. So, and let's start by the starting point, so the challenge. So what you see there is a quote from the Consultative Committee for Space Data Systems, where essentially they say, ignoring the problems raised by preserving information in digital forms will lead inevitably to the loss of this information. So applying this sentence, and I see that you are going to have breakfast, or oh, sorry, you're going to have dessert, or okay, good, very good. Applying this to the problem here, so were there preservation services in the market? Yes. Were there preservation services for certain types of data? Yes. There were no preservation services at scale that could cover different sets of unstructured scientific data. And when I talk about unstructured scientific data, it's data coming from life sciences, data coming from proton neutron sciences. So we have a telescope, we have the DNA research from EMBL, we had high energy physics from CERN, and we also astronomy from PIC. So we had 4 sets of scientific data, unstructured or structured in different ways. You can call it structured, unstructured, or the other way around. And we had scales of petabyte, and we didn't have this yet as solutions we didn't have commodity solutions that we could use. So that's partially what you see on the left side is what were the current scientific data repositories and how they were. So most of the research data was not published, basic capabilities. There were some technology lock-ins as well in terms of how we were doing this, because tape, for example, is very widely used, and it was a capability that only IBM, for example, was providing. We had a lot of fragmentation across these scientific disciplines, and one of the major challenges, everyone underestimates the cost of preservation on a long term, because you are not talking about storing data for 1 year or 2 years, you are talking about preserving data for 15 years, 20 years, and this is normally something that people doesn't do very well. So that was and we had one of the deliverables of the project called Current State of the Art report was where this challenge was being depicted and encapsulated, if you want, in several other in the scope of R&D. So what you see this here, and I'll not go through details. On the right side, you see the major use cases that each of those scientific organizations brought to the project. Okay, so the colors are more or less matching. So EMBL has 2 green bars, and then PIC has 3 bars, and CERN has 2 white bars, and DESI has 3 bars. And then on the other side, what we did, and this was very much what we have done during the OMC, and I heard about the OMC, some of the OMC remarks today. We organized 5 events during the OMC. We had one at CERN, and then we had one on each of the buyers, and then we had a last one that was a general one that was back at CERN, where we tried to use also the enterprise networks of each country to bring the companies, okay? And we didn't really have so much problems with what the companies were saying, because most of them came to show where we are. And what they wanted to know is, what do you want from us? And so what we have done is we focus those events on the OMC to explain what the challenge was for each of us, encapsulated by those use cases, okay? Then on the left side, what you see there is our work of business analysis and how we divided this in different layers. So we could have a structured approach of how to cover all where these use cases will map in these layers. For example, storage basic archiving layer was the first one, and everyone's needed. Okay, so it's something that we can even say that it should be there. Otherwise, don't bother to participate. For example, layer 2 is where we go for conformity with all the standards that exist, and when we want things like normalization of formats and want monitoring of formats that are in the past and so on. So things that get a bit more technical, and so all of them as well needed that. Then layer 3. It was more advanced still, so how you present these to researchers and how they can use these services. And you start to see that there, some of the use cases stop, and the others go beyond. They go to layer 4 is when we start to say, okay, we want this research output in 5 years to be reproducible, using the same technology, using different technology, using the same infrastructure. Okay, so this was essentially to give them an idea of, because with the PCB we need to be realistic. We had 5 million, and we can do many things, but we cannot do everything with 5 million. And we didn't have more than 3 years as well, because it was the timeline of the project was very well defined. So this gave them an idea of where we are in terms of our baseline, and can we participate on this one? Okay, knowing that is a niche, is a niche market, this preservation market or technology market. What you see there now is the timeline. So remember that we did this a few years ago. So we went to the open market consultation, as I said, with several events, and this went very well. We published, and then we had COVID. And so we had to move to, as everyone, to a remote setting on everything that we were doing. So until now, I don't understand how we didn't accumulate more delay, honestly, because we managed to do all that, meaning RD, bids, evaluation, and selection, between January and June, okay? And what we were having during this time is countries were shutting down as we were going, okay? So we were just publishing, and then after 3 weeks, we're getting a message from Italy: we cannot reply to your tender, please extend because everything is shut down. And then we were extending for 1 week or 2, and then we're getting France saying the same thing. And at some point it was, we were risking, I'll say, okay, we are not going to have anything, and because the countries are just not the teams are just not moving yet through a remote basis that can handle the challenge. But we managed to have 16 bids, and we selected 5, okay? So then we entered on what we call the R&D competitive execution. So we had 3 phases where we were in fully remote mode, so no more meetings or events and so on. Everything was in Zoom/other tools. We had the design phase that it was the last 4 months with 5 designs. At the end of this phase, we selected 3 to go through the call-off. Okay. Then each of these phases, as you see as well, has been led by a different buyer. So this was also to give them the opportunity to, it was not CERN doing everything, but we had also people from those buyers to participate. We then had a prototype phase of 9 months, so where the things were being deployed and tested in a very agile way. And then we had the pilot phase for 7 months until the end of the project. So we had an extension of 6 months because even if we coped with most of the delays, we still had to extend it by the end. Yeah, so essentially that was the picture. I will show you what we have done in each of the phases, and then we can come back if you have questions. But so essentially, again, that has been an agile software development exercise. Okay, so what we have done, and when we are talking about the prototype, so the design, we had architectures, we have the architects and the software architects meeting in a regular basis every week. we're not having meetings with all of them at the same time. We're having meetings with each of the providers, of course. And we're just iterating about our challenge and what they could do, okay? And the first 3 months were essentially paperwork in the sense that it was a diagram of architecture. So this is what we propose, okay? When we went to the prototype phase, we had it on the what we call the agile software development. So we had sprints, essentially defining dates of development, of coding, where the companies need to code, and then we test. And so the tests were done based on very atomic use cases of the challenge. So we had the challenge that you saw before, and then this starts to go down to the ability, for example, on this example, as I want to control the export of archived data sets. And then we describe what does it mean, and we describe the steps and the nodes. And then this is going to be tested against each of the solutions in detail. So the same thing for everyone. And we're doing each sprint, like you see in the left, for a set of stories. What we call this is user stories. So Emble had their stories, and CERN had their stories, and everyone had stories that put in the basket. And this is what we do in that sprint. And then we see the results in here. Okay. Then what we have done as well is to define test criteria. So what you see there, again, a type of test that comes from the functional specification. So everything is linked since the procurement exercise in the beginning. There is no procurement exercise and then different things. We have the procurement exercise, and then the tests are connected to the criteria that are on the functional specifications, and then the functional specifications are an evolution from the big functional specification to each of the call-offs that you are organizing. So there's always a gradual move forward. We are not repeating the same things. We are just saying, now we know this, and the natural evolution of that functional specification is this step forward. Okay, so here we also describe all the steps. So all this information was public. Okay, so the equal opportunity to everyone. So all this information is public. One thing I forgot to say, and it might be interesting for you, I hope it doesn't shock you. We have published the drafts of the tender before being officially published. So we said, we have the tender drafts, and now we are publishing them just for collection feedback. And we collect the feedback, and then we change some things, and some things we didn't change. But we really wanted to have a very open dialogue with them, so they could see what was expected. Okay, I'm not sure the procurement rules everywhere allow this. In our case, they allow to share specs that are drafts and are not the final ones before the official publication. So then in each of the, as you see, that is like a follow-up after the prototype phase. And so there is a follow-up of strengths versus weaknesses that have been found in Access 1 of the contractor assessment for phase 1. So there were assessments after the answers, the responses of the tender, then assessments over the call-off, and everything has been linked. And the history has been preserved. So we were saying some things were partially addressed, some things have been addressed, some things not addressed at all. And this was feedback that was sent to them as well. Okay. So the two companies that we had were on the end of the exercise of the 3 years were Archivum in the UK and Livnova in Spain. They were not alone. For the petabyte challenge, they had to have inside of the consortium subcontracted cloud providers because they needed capacity. The cloud providers were not European because at the time there was no cloud provider in Europe that could address the capacity that we are asking. Okay, but the consortium, the companies, the startups, they were the SMEs, they were all European essentially, the ones that applied and the ones that were being selected. I'll not go in detail. This was just the solution that Archivum has presented that was evolved since the prototype phase until the end. And the same thing for, so these are two use cases for Archivum. InVinio RDM is an application at CERN. that was already, for example, integrated well with the resulting service. Same thing this is the challenge for petabyte data for archiving as well. As you see there is the ingestion of the astronomy data set in 24 hours. Things that you probably don't know, want to go in detail. The same thing for LibNova, the architecture they presented, then the ingestion of 15 petabytes during the pilot phase. I had another one very nice, but I didn't find it anywhere. They reproduce a game as well, a game from the 80s that they managed to reproduce, this Pac-Man style game that they managed to reproduce in their platform. Then another thing that we have been putting, and I think for you this is interesting, is the sustainability of these services. So what we asked them together with the technical developments were total cost of service calculations. So essentially an Excel sheet that we can, based on our use case, an automated Excel sheet. So we say, yes, I have this use case. This means 15 petabyte in 20 years, and I want this, and I want that, and I want that. And then in the end, you get an estimated cost. Okay. This was extremely important because the buyers and early adopters could optimize what their financial capacity will be and what data they could put in. Another aspect that was very important as well was what you call certification. And so for the EC and as an EC requirement, we have this Cortrust Seal certification base that was important to map the services against. And we have in the end a structured map of how these services certify against Cortrust Seal. That is one of the European EC-wide certification authorities. So the good thing is we won a prize. There is a prize called Digital Preservation Awards. This is based essentially in Scotland, and they heard about Archiver, and they asked us to have a bid for the prize, and one of the categories that is the international collaboration and cooperation, I think. And so we won that category. It was very nice to go there and receive the prize. So apart from me in the center, what you see is representatives from the two companies that qualified to the prototype and then to the pilot phase. We published also a white paper that I put there. We go more deeply on everything that I said today, plus more technicalities about the solutions. This is for instance as well if you want to know more. And then I think this is what you'll be more interested is on the lessons learned. I tried to cut the text, but still a lot of text there, but I'll try to go through a bit. So coming back to what I said in the beginning. So for us, it was a software. This was a software PCP. And so as a software PCP, as you probably understand, and now it's even worse with the AI, they think in months or in days, and they don't think in years. So going there and arguing that now you are onboarding for a project of 3 years and who knows what happens in the end, for them, it's not easy, okay? So because they want to see what comes out in 1 year or in 6 months. And so it's difficult to convince them to go in an R&D challenge for several years. Then feedback, and I meant communication and feedback is essential, because when you start to go into challenges that are very complex, digital preservation is complex, and there are too many sub things inside. If you don't have this communication, you can end up very easily in having expectations completely wrong. So I remember in the beginning, I say, okay, we are just going to make a contract with Amazon and we give you all these petabytes and that's it. So then you put all your data there and that's it. So if you don't go in detail about what the whole challenge is, and you keep this regular, dialogue, things can go right. Okay. And the other way around, the same. It's like, we have everything that you need. And yes, you have everything that we need for 100 megabyte, but we are asking you 8 petabytes of data. Okay, so those are the things that we need to be careful with. Then agile development is effective in a project like this, especially because you are on this trial and error in improving interactively. Then resource awareness. This is something that is important because, as you know, PCPs, at least the PCPs funded by the EC, they had, I don't know if it's still the case, a limit on what you can use as budget for coordination. Okay, so essentially, if I remember well, 70% budget, procurement budget, and 30% coordination. So coordination, because sometimes there's an assumption, the PCP is that, okay, I publish my tender, they develop, and then that's it. And I don't have much, no, you'll have a lot of work of testing, you'll have a lot of work of business analysis, and I would even dare to say that most of the work is not on development, is on the business analysis and on the requirement, because they can develop essentially everything that you need, but if things are not well defined in the beginning, then you might end up with solutions that have nothing to do with the challenge that you have in the first place that you want to solve. So we have to be aware that resources for not only for the administrative part, but also for what we call business analysis and testing are important there. Okay, almost as the development. Then another, let's say, problem is dissemination strategy. This needs planning, because we had our own partner, Trust IT, doing dissemination. So we had all these events, and sometimes a posts in the web, and sometimes a posts in the LinkedIn channel. But also these companies, they have all their dissemination partners, and then we start to see dissemination of other things going on that are not exactly, or in the beginning were not exactly saying the same thing. So what I had to interfere at some point is, okay, the dissemination needs to be agreed by all the partners on the group, on the project. And some of them were not happy because they wanted to say more, but you cannot say more now because it's not the time, okay? Because we are still going on a call-off, or we are still going in the results. You didn't want anything. You are not being selected by anyone yet. You are just participating in a project. So these kind of things are very important. Otherwise, you might end up with miscommunications that, you know, when you talk about CERN and then there's the enamel and so on, it's like people, wow, these guys are doing, I don't know what. I say, come. This is not exactly that. So this is important to do. And something that I personally believe that would be important to have, by the end of the PCP, and you can tell me, yes, we have PPIs and other instruments, yes, but we have been testing and very intensively for these 3 years. You arrive to the end of the project and it's poof. There's no follow-up. Because most of these organizations need to organize a procurement to continue to use the services. And so on the 30th of June of 2022, nobody has more access, okay? And then it's like, okay, we want to use, we don't want to use, but you have a momentum that is lost from the end of the project. So I don't know how to solve this, but we should have incentives that by the pilot phase, we could, for example, apply for trial funds to continue, or a very limited scope procurement, something like this. But as public organizations, I could not extend, for example, I could not get to the end and say, okay, now we go for the solution. No, we cannot do that, as you know, because we have rules. So I think that's where some things could be done to be able to let's say, to take the most out of the developments of the project.
The structure, the feedback, does that go both for the preparation phase and the contracting, or is it, okay? Yeah,
the structured feedback, what we adopted was something structured from the open market consultation, essentially, and then a story that you continue for all the phases of the project, okay? So when you refer to architectures in the prototype phase, you refer already to feedback that you gave them that they need to address. So like this, you ensure a gradual improvement and a gradual move forward of the challenge of the project.
Because in the project, it was not foreseen from the beginning on that once the project was finished and the solution was developed, that CERN would actually purchase?
No.
That is,
no.
But
none of the four. So the 4 buyers that you have there, none of them committed in buying the solutions after the project.
Well, that's the issue that we have also in other sectors. Commitment of buyers for the future procurements. We see in some of the calls that now we have even calls for PPI.
Yeah.
Okay, they are maybe not 100% funded.
Yeah.
They're 50% funded, but at least it's something. So,
Yes. Yeah. But because you see, sometimes, I mean, it's contradictory because you do the PCP to de-risk, but at the same time, you are already asking for a commitment after the PCP. And that's what some of these organizations are not prepared to do.
That I do not understand, because wouldn't I do, I mean, either I make an R&D because I would like to have a certain solution, and then I understand I do this project, and then the companies who participate also know that actually what they're doing is just an R&D and it's finished afterwards. But if this is not clearly said, would I do a PCP if I'm not interested in buying a long-term marketing solution?
You are interested, but
Why?
you are not committing 3 years before that you are going to buy. That's the difference. Because there are many, especially in software, I mean, PCP was an instrument, but I can tell there were, in the digital preservation area, there were many other initiatives and mechanisms that people was using. So nobody is going to commit 3 years before that we are, that buy a solution in the end. It happened partially, but it didn't happen for the 4. No. So, and then I finish with this slide. So for the research community, what we demonstrated by the end of the project was exactly this, that we had petabyte scale SaaS ready, and 2 of the buyers have signed contracts with not the 2 companies, but one of them each. Research data management has been, so we raised awareness about research data management. So also these are side effects that are important. So the scientific community was not aware that this is important. The project made their job in making it aware. Okay. Best practice for cost optimization and deployment models, and we accelerated a bit the adoption of these SMEs. The SMEs, both of them were very happy. So they stated publicly that the development cycle has been reduced from 5 to 2 years. So that's already some gain that they stated to have. Expanded customer base. So it's one of the few cases that you have, instead of having things that Europeans buy in the US, and don't put me wrong on this was the first time that I heard that European companies were going to MIT to show the services that they developed with those European big science organizations. So that it was very good. Libnova, for example, they made 2 contracts in the US from what they told us. So they increased the market position, and also this de-risked entry of long-term data preservation, because again, is a niche market. So maybe you have 20 or 20-ish, actors worldwide. Is not for everyone, and for petabyte scale was even less. And then we managed to have a broader impact on digital preservation and open science across the different organizations, and we increased this cross-organizational relationship. I think it was a good example where, I mean, you don't have many examples where different scientific organizations in different domains collaborate. That this one was not so bad. And and that's what I had for you. I don't know if you have more questions or want to come back to any of the points that was listed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, interesting.
I have several, but
No.
feel free. The shocker. What I would like to point out is also that, I mean, you can see the PCP when it is financed by European Commission also as investment in research. And one thing that I like very much is, and you mentioned, is collaboration. Collaboration between, I have experience with public buyers in security. So basically our end users are able now go to Ministry of France or and when I was working for the ministry, and learn how they do the things. They analyze their common needs and they learn. So some of the money, in fact, goes into this collaboration. part. Maybe the comment that one thing that I like about this approach. I would like to ask, so you are following if the companies are commercializing the products, right? And
Yes.
how they do? You
Yes.
said they're selling to US, but
Yes, so I know that the preserve service at CERN, I'm not involved, but my colleagues that I work, they are using one of, or a subcomponent of one of the services that has been produced. I know that EMBO, on their life sciences community called Elixir, they also had a few ideas with Livnova. To be honest with you, I followed 2 or 3 years after the product, but I didn't follow more. But they are there. The companies are there. They are part also of this catalog of what we call European Open Science Cloud Preservation Services. They are there. Thanks to the project. It was the project that has put them or made the necessary work to put them there. Yes. Also, the other companies that have been eliminated, we know that some cases on the prototype phase, they also had some of the learnings of this project that they applied on their products. So it was not only the ones in the final game, but was also the ones before.
yeah, and I think it's important to understand that the mechanism of PCP is not really just the procurement. It's a way how we fund the companies and R&D. So, and obviously, if you have the money from European source, it's that's also important. How is it now at CERN with this innovation procurement and PCP? Are you following or?
No, I'm not. I mean, don't want to be negative, but I think the experience were good, the 3 of them that we had, but still there's a lot of let's say awareness that people need to, because the tendency is to treat them as.
Welcome. We have our next speaker. So hi.
Hi.
No, please find the place and. Okay.
I think there is a lot of awareness to be done still across CERN, because it's not an instrument that is well known. Personally, I think I mean, the gap is there because we have everything that is we call software procurement of commodity, and then you have what is called commodity, and PCP. I think it fits a gap of things that you like to have, but you need a push or to de-risk But I'm not aware of any plans for PCPs over the next years or so.
What do you think is like the major drawbacks of this, the PCP thing?
I think the ones that were perceived at CERN, they were EC funded, okay? At least the ones that I was participating. So it was perceived that there were a lot of obligations, administrative obligations towards the commission as well. I think a PCP, if you ask me, a PCP organized by CERN and its 4 buyers without the EC would be easier? The response is yes. I think our processes are a bit less heavy. Okay. So I think one of the problems is that then for software, as I said, maybe it would be beneficial that, for example, the design phase is separate. Is a project of, I don't know, an open market consultation plus, okay. And then the PCP is only execution. I think, yeah, on those lines, I think it's still seen overall as heavy process.
That's true. I know that some countries have experience with the really short-term experimental way of doing the PCP. I know that in Norway we told that they have this 1-year process, but then it also depends on the challenge, how complex it is, obviously, for what you want to use it. So yeah.
Did you follow the CERN rules or the European Commission?
No, for PCP we'll follow the European Commission rules.
And that was not incompatible with the self-procurement?
No,
that was accepted.
No. We didn't have any case of incompatibility, let's say. We could have had, but we didn't have.
Who was the lead buyer? CERN?
CERN was led by.
So, and that was done by, or according to EU law, or?
There was EU rule because the PCP
Okay.
was funded at 70%. And so I think what we had with the EC in the past, I don't know if still in terms of governance of procurement, if CERN puts most of the money, is CERN rules. If the EC puts most of the money, is EC rules. Okay, so that's what we are prepared to agree.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was on the EC.
Okay.
But apart from the rules, then we had all the reporting that is associated to a PCP project funded by the EC.
Because that's basically Horizon 2020, so you
Yes.
had the deliverables and reporting all of it.
Exactly.
So if you would not follow these kind of principles, and you would not that many deliverables, not
Yes.
so long.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
so
Exactly. It would
yeah.
be more expedite. Also
Yeah.
because, for example, for the tender material, since it was under EC rule, we had to prepare the tender, review it here, and then send it to the EC.
Yes.
And then get the review from the EC. And then go back until we had something that was accepted by everyone. So I can tell you that we had the tender specification ready in November, when we managed to publish, in October, and managed to publish in January.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So really, I think I will go really fast because this business case, it's going to be just introduction to the concept, the methodology, how we do the business case and cost-benefit analysis for the innovation procurement, for sure for the PCP projects. I will share some of my experience. And sorry for that, I have to apologize even in front. I'm a lawyer, not economist. So some things you might have more experience with me, but let's get to it. So what is business case? For us, it's basically decision-making tool. So there should be a clear economic rationale behind investing in R&D. So it should, in the end, provide the value. And for that, we have this concept of business case, which basically is revolving around cost-benefit analysis. So, and it provides really economic justification, and then also, if you have the money from the European Commission, then to the European Commission. If you have your national money, so maybe to the higher management. Yeah. So when it comes to AFI methodology, or even the methodology of innovation procurement, it comes after the open market consultation. So you collected all the information you were able to collect, and now you do the calculations and you see if you have a green light, or you actually find out that there is no green light, because it economically makes no sense to invest in that kind of R&D, because, for example, it's too expensive. So what does it basically mean? As I said, in the heart, we have this cost-benefit analysis. And I said, are the benefits worth the investment? So on one hand, we have the cost. These are the costs associated with running the procurement, so the PCP process and organization, everything. You have the costs that are, and I will go into the details of the cost later on, that are basically for R&D to the suppliers. So that's money you are paying to suppliers to develop the solutions. And then, hopefully, in the end of PCP, you do the PPI, so public procurement of innovative solutions. So you buy the technology. So that's some CapEx when you buy the technology. And then you are running the technology, so you have some operational expenditures. So that's all the costs on one side. And then you have to evaluate the benefits. And let's go into more details. So also what is important to point out in this methodology of business case is understanding the current cost. So in fact, this business case is, yes, not only about the cost-benefit analysis, putting the numbers into the table, but it's also about understanding the current situation, the cost that I currently have with existing, not just the solution or the state, because maybe I have a problem, I don't have a solution to deal with. So what happens if we do nothing, right? Sometimes doing nothing means it comes with the cost, and then you see examples, inefficiency, missed opportunities, rising operational expenses. There is a growing demand, then than originally I was not expecting. There is a demand from legislation, from environmental criteria and so on. So you need to understand the current situation as it is now. Then you're looking into the future. You try to identify the benefits, and there are several types of benefits that the new solution that is addressing your unmet need can bring for your organization, for multiple public buyers, but then we can speak also about the wider impact. So when it comes to internal benefits, obviously you are thinking of using this new technology, for example, for Legionella treatment, how that will help me in the future when it comes to the cost. So it can mean that it will be reducing operational, maintenance, or personal cost, because maybe you don't need that many person dealing with that problem, because you have implemented decision support system. Efficiency improvements, so faster processes, fewer errors, less manual work. Quality improvements, better service delivery, higher performance, risk reduction, fewer incidents, accidents, or compliance failures. What are the external benefits? Sometimes they are really hard to monetize. And when we do this exercise of business case, for example, for technology, and I will give you example of a technology of stopping vehicles remotely. So sometimes it's hard to monetize these wider impacts, but always we try to do the best. So at least to establish. So what can be the external benefits? What is the wider impact? It can be environmental. In some of the cases, the challenges, I think that's very relevant, that you discuss within the open market consultation. So for example, reduce emissions, energy savings, waste reduction. Social, improve safety, public health, community welfare, or economic job creation, market stimulation. So example of benefits, these are not the projects I was part in, but still I think it's very interesting. The first one is Nicoarda Hospital. So what they were trying to develop, and in fact they did, was this automatic bed mover. And why was this important? Because they find out that their cost, moving the bed required two persons. And not only that, but there were more than 10 workplaces injuries per year. So with the invalidity rate and so on. And they estimated savings, you see the numbers here, in personal cost alone. So this automatic bed mover saved time of the personnel that was doing that, but also reduce the workplace injuries. Another, I think, interesting examples is from London Metro Tube Underground, and they were changing the fluorescent lighting. And you would think that the major cost reductions came from changing to LED, so saving the energy, but actually it was on, again, personal costs, because changing the typical lights required, and at some places, it was really difficult, and it was more often than you would have with the LED light. So this comes also to this business case exercise, to understanding what are the costs nowadays. So really, what are the examples of the costs? So we discussed about the benefits, then you have the costs. I said you have to include, I think, and we will do the exercise, or you will do the exercise. You need to really calculate the net present value. You need to calculate also the investment of doing the procurement itself. So that's a procurement and project cost. For example, you need to establish how much money would it cost you to do the market analysis, organize open market consultation, contract management, Sometimes, if the projects are financed by the European Commission, and you got the, Joao was also saying about that, they get 30% of the whole budget for administrative purposes, so you got this money from external funding. So sometimes it's not included in a business case. Then you have capital expenditures. Obviously, after you finish the PCP phase and you do the public procurement, so the normal tender, you need to buy the equipment or the solution or the software. So it's an equipment purchase. We here include also R&D investment. Hardware, software you need for implementing it on your premises, for example. And then if it is also intellectual property acquisition. And then you have a day-to-day cost or cost that comes every year, OPEX. So that would usually go to staff salary. So personnel that is operating the new solutions, new software, new mechanisms. You have regular system maintenance. Maybe not in the beginning, maybe not in the first, second year, but for sure, when the projects are longer, you will have the system maintenance and support. If there are any licensing, so licensing and yeah. As I said, one PCP that we did, this was the preparation phase. So we calculated the cost that we are having, and this was the example of developing the technology that can help us remote, in a safe way, stop the vehicles. Obviously, we heard about the cases of different cars attacking as a weapon different, let's say, markets. But it's not only that; it's a cost that LEAs, law enforcement agencies have with stopping the vehicles. You know, because sometimes there's a casualties not only on the side of the law enforcement agencies, but also passengers and so on. So here is the list of costs that we had. So, for example, for the PCP procurement cost, we included there also the R&D money that went to the suppliers, and you know, and why there is a baseline. So, if there are several public buyers, you know, each of us as a public buyer, we have some estimates based on our use case. So we have the low number, high number. Sometimes we do the baseline. So you would have a one-off PCP budget to suppliers. You would have an implementation package. It means once the solutions are implemented in the, let's say, police cars, you need implementation. You need the training also. You need to calculate in this cost the training of the personnel to operate the new solutions and the transition, if there are any. We calculated also their hardware, so devices that will be either installed in a vehicle, or if it is other type of devices, for example, handheld. So we establish also that. So that would be that. Then we have OPEX. So for the operation and support, for new people who will be responsible for taking care of these solutions, and digital running cost. So, and there is a value calculation. Some of you probably have the experience with the net present value. So really simply, this MPV that we calculate, and you will be also calculating that later on, compares the present value of all benefits minus present value of all cost of a project lifetime. And so in the end, here is the formula. We prepared for you the Google sheet where the formula is already inserted. And in the exercise, you will just, for the specific use case, you will insert the cost and the benefits. And but what happens in the end? So if the MPV is higher than 0, then the project creates value. If not, then you have to reconsider. What does it mean, reconsider? If we do calculation for business case, for example, you can think that if you are doing the business case just for one buyer, it might not be financial viable. So in that case, think if there would be another public buyer for or which has the same need as you, because then the cost of investing into R&D will be still same or slightly higher, but for sure the benefits would, for example, double. So that's one way how we address, and my experience, as I said, that we had, but also Joao presented it. There was usually several public buyers. So in that case, I think there were 4 buyers. In most cases, I have experienced are either 3 or 4. Yeah, we can skip this because I will show you another example. So basically, you calculate the costs from year 0 to year 5 in this example of intercept. Benefits, as you see, the benefit starts not in year 0 or 1, but after the implementation of the solution. So from year 2, 3, 4, year and 5. Then you calculate the net cash flow. You have this discount factor. Yeah, in the end, you get the number. Here, it's just slightly positive. That was our case for the intercept. So this was for 5 years. So we thought, okay, shouldn't we prolong, extend the project lifetime to longer periods? So the cost would still be the same, or at least the initial cost for R&D, but we would have more benefits in the next years. Or, as I said, try to think if there are more buyers that would be interested in having this solution with you. Sometimes we do also risk assessment, but I'm not going into details right now. So thank you very much for accepting. You will be speaking about the examples of PCP that is CDTI organizing, right? It's in fact very interesting because CDTI is running the PCPs for several entities. So you manage actually the procedures at one entity at CDTI, but the results are then for the other buyers. So it's very interesting, and I know this for Spain. It's also kind of strategical view on pre-commercial procurement and innovation procurement, because I know that you invested a lot of money through this mechanism. So happy to hear some examples.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. And okay, good afternoon. I am Manuel Moreno. I am Spanish Investigation Officer at CERN, another in IILOs. I work in CDTI. CDTI is a Spanish innovation agency. It's a public, okay? It depends on the Minister of the Science of Innovation and Universities. Okay, I would like to give some information about. Okay, the CDTI has one department of the PCP directly manage the PCP in Spain. Okay, since the 2020, CDTI is running PCP to satisfy the needs of the Spanish public administration, and collaborates with the user of the technology development. PCPs are intended for the development of prototypes with the high level of technology and innovation. These projects are funded with European funds, like European regional development funds or new generation funds. Okay. PCPs, well, the first part, the zero part, consists the analysis, but consists of the primary market consultation and 3 phases. For example, the 1 phase is design. There are usually several contractors, and this contractor is to compete with the different proposals. Okay. Besides, is one of the area of the CDTI PCPs. Currently, there are more than 25 PCPs in different steps. We have information in this link. You can see this information. Okay, this is an analysis process for the approval of PCPs in the CETI. There are two parts. Analyze of the idea received from the CETI, different parts. Sometimes it's for my department or for the public administration or institutes or something like that. And is analyze the financial evaluation, public administration needs, and which capital is necessary to running and technological evaluation. And the second part is monitoring of the proposal technology. This CETI is a financial agency. There are a lot of knowledge about the research and development project in more or less 90% of the invest in the research and development project is to manage CETI and have a lot of knowledge about the technologies and so on, no? And analyze this information. And second is preliminary market consultations, no? Finally, with all this information, the CETI Management Committee approval to launch the PCP. Okay? This part is part of the work of the PCP departments in CETI. Okay?
And we see there the financial availability, right? So I think to some extent, if we would go into details, you are considering or doing also business case. I mean, evaluating the value the technology brings.
Okay, I would like to present because this PCP is in particular physics. I am member of the technical committee in this PCP and know very well about in one part in the phase, in the difference phase. No? The main objective is development of a prototype for a compound linear accelerator for hadron therapy. This is it's very important, this PCP in Spain, and there are different challenges and developing a demonstration for injection phase of the ion accelerator based in the compact radio frequency linear accelerator, and to verify that the necessary technology and infrastructure are economically viable and sustainable. The Spanish public administration who demand this technology is Institute, Valencia Institute, IFIC. It's about the physics institute, okay, in Valencia. The main challenges is to reduce the maintenance costs and expenses compared with the two current designs. Current designs is University of Heisenberg. This is a project on the Japan on different installations. No? Bring this device closer to the use of hadron therapy. It's possible to enable to an expansion. Consolidate access for patients for whom this technology is more suitable. Achieve and increase technical reference level in ion source, high frequency accelerator structures, energy and power lines, control and diagnostic system, so on. No? Capacity to develop comparative biomedical between heavy ion therapies and proton or photon therapies. Is the comparative with, and this institute is to put in the laboratory both systems to research about what is with therapy is much better to use. Very interesting. Okay, the technical description of the prototype is ion generation, radio frequency quadrupole, accelerator system, transport line, radio frequency system, diagnostic system, control system. No? There are different parts of the system. Now, we have three phases. For example, the phase 1 is designed for 4 months. In 4 months, there are two or three contractors and to work during this month. And the phase 2, CDTI choose one proposal. Okay. And the phase 1 is documentation related to the work methodology, preliminary. This is the section of the phase 1. No? The phase 2 is for 41 months, is development. Analyze and final designs of the manufacturing of the combustion system of the accelerator, manufacturing drag beams, and manufacturing for ion source, and prototype testing. Phase 3 is pre-operational verification or working methodology, in which part the verification criteria are established for each session of the this phase with the corresponding score. In which part. Now we have in the phase 2. In the phase 1 there are 3 contractors. Now is only one. Is consortium is led by ABS. It's a Spanish company in the north of Spain, and this is subcontracted. And there are one company of the that is Plantain. Okay, now is there another PCP in Fusion, mid-dones PCP. In this case, the main objective is our development of key subsystems in the accelerator and test area segments of the mid-dones. In this PCP, the research and development challenges are developing technology validation for accelerator system and for test area system. Spanish public administration who demands this technology is at Mid-Dones, España, in Granada. Now is more or less in the phase 1. The phase 1 there are 2 lots in the different consortia, and only is to choose one consortium in the lot 1. Now is another PCP in astronomy is the SPAD detectors. The main objective is the development of the single photon avalanche diode photodetector for intensity interferometry. And this PC, the research and development challenge is to test intensity interferometry in an optical telescope. And the Spanish public administration who demand in this technology is Instituto Astrofísico Andalucía in Granada. Primary market consortium is famous. 3 consortiums submit. This is the different companies, and now is in the phase 1 is currently under evaluation with 2 contracts, and the phase 2 when we'll have 1 contract. On the other initiative, there are 25 initiatives in PC. Now is the 3 of the B science. Now is another science, autonomous land vehicle, and quantum key distribution. There are a lot of the interesting initiatives in science. In conclusion, CTI PCP has several ongoing cases in design involving industrial consortia, like hadron therapy in particle physics, mid-dones fusion, and SPAD detector in astronomy. The industrial consortiums can validate your technology and an environment which provide its future marketing. Pre-commercial procurement is a strategy tools for developing breakthrough technology in the B sector, B science sector. Finally, we can conclude that the use of the PCP in B science is provide to be a very positive experience for the industry. Okay, this is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So how many bidders did you have, and could you comment on the different bidders? So who made a bid for these PCPs?
How many?
Yeah, and what's the type? Was it one company? Was it a consortium? Was it academics and company? Or?
Yes, normally, for example, in hadron therapy, I know very well because I'm a member of in hadron therapy, there's an institute that is FAIR, was after FAIR and CIEMAT, is this another technological institute to work in this PCP. But the ABS in this case lead this PCP, no? This company is the consortium of it, but now is the other Danish company and Spanish company, and so I think it's. This is okay. Pantenic.
They're French.
French, but the contract is
Or maybe it's Polytechnic.
Yeah.
Pantechnic is French making ion sources,
Yeah.
But it could also be Polytechnic who are also active in this area.
Yeah. There are institutes, the technical institute to work here, no more than the 50% of the money in the PCP. For example, the cost of this PCP is 21 million billions of dollars in Spanish.
So it's a lot of companies.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? How do they manage that?
The manage is ABS.
Okay.
ABS.
Okay, so they
have
are responsible
and to
for
report to CETI, and there are audit all the one session, one part, and CETI to pay by face to face, no? When you pass the one phase,
yeah,
pay.
okay.
You know, when you have a different score by the different part and different. But ABS is the okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed. Just two things. We would like to invite you for our future webinars. There is one on 23rd of April, which is on pre-commercial procurement, but we will look more into the procedural things and examples from other real cases. On 11th of May, we will have an innovation partnership. And very important, on the 30th of June, we will have on-site training in Bratislava, and we will publish the agenda early next week. It will be full-day training, and we will go through main innovation procurement procedures. We will focus more on the needs of BSO procurement experts, but obviously all are invited, and I think it will be again something very, very interesting. And then we will continue our training journey starting again September 2026. October 26, we are at the BSBF. We will have a final training or final presentation there, presenting on training manuals for the future use. And last thing, please scan the QR code last time today, at least from my side, and share your feedback with us. It's a simple questionnaire, and you can evaluate how you like the training and what we can improve, and basically it will take you just 3 minutes. So thank you very much from my side. Thank you for your work and your time.